there.
Hi, welcome back to Curious Collection. I'm Will.
I'm Cinnamon.
Today we're going to go over our P&L for July 2024, and I have a theory here, and that it's resellers are the canaries in the economic coal mine, so to speak, and that we kind of feel the impact that is on consumers first before maybe some of the larger businesses, before manufacturing, before some of these other big industries. And we know, if you watch any of the news, that there's some economic pressure in a lot of different categories. Real estate's down, auto sales are down, fast food is struggling. So there's a lot of different things out there. Our sales for July 2024 were absolutely terrible. We saw a massive impact on our sales. We saw almost a 13% decline in our main store sales. Our whatnot sales were nearly non-existent. We struggled. We only had 3 Mercari sales. So we're going to go through these numbers. We have not had a month this bad since January 2023, when we literally took off a third of the month. So I don't want it to be all the doom and gloom, but that's the starting point, that we're behind now because July, I understand it's a summer slump. You're going to see when you look at these numbers, significantly worse than last year. So we're going to start out, we're looking at July 1st through July 31st, and we're comparing over the same month last year. It's really the best way to gauge. We are at 12.9% down versus last year, $5,600 in sales in our main store, with $2,000 of that going towards our buyer fees, shipping labels, all that kind of stuff. So next screen here, we're going to pop to. We had 231 buyers. 215 of them were one-time buyers. 16 of them were repeat customers. Again, big drops. 23.8% drop in total buyers and 23.8% in each of those individual ones. So you can see there that people are just not buying a quarter. I mean, we're literally looking at a quarter less sales. And then we've got the category sales here. We're going to go into sales. We're going to go into total sales. So we're looking at the total sales, 5645, 12.9% versus the prior period. Again, the numbers, everything is just down, in double digit down. So it really is. It really is a bad place to start from. So we're going to look at our P&L here, and we've got our main store.
Our selling costs are up. I think that's the only thing that's up in our whole, in all of our numbers. Our selling costs are up 0.8%.
Right. And again, that's probably going to be linked back to the postal increases that we've seen in January and in July this year. So we did have postal increases twice. We offer free shipping. So when we have a postal increase, that comes out of our pocket. So
next is Reseller Genie.
Yeah. So we're going to pop over to our total income, total sales, $5,960. That's for all platforms.
This is the whole business.
Our whole business.
Yeah.
Main store, $54.35, like we talked about. We had $164 in returns.
Yeah.
So that is something that we noticed, is that returns, it seem like they're ticking up a little bit. Consumers are becoming more demanding. As the dollars become tighter, people are going to expect more for that dollar. Next up, we've got our ad store, $495. So when we designed the store, kind of came up with the idea for it, we were going to put in low sales, low selling items, slow selling items. We were hoping to get 10% of our total business. I wasn't hoping to get there by reducing the main store. But it is approximately 10% of our total store business. So Mercari, we've got about 400 listings on there. So we did $45 in Mercari sales. We had $47.50 in other category sales. I think we had consigned some stuff to a local auction house. Poshmark, we did $63 in sales. The same items that are cross listed to Mercari are also on Poshmark. Not a big performer there. We've kind of been talking back and forth about, what's going on with this cross listing and these other platforms. We're going to probably give it a couple more months and see if it's really worth continuing. But as of right now, we're not getting anywhere near the amount of return on those platforms.
And I worry because I can only get, before I started cross listing, I was able to get 15 items listed per day. And now I'm only getting 10 items listed because I've got to cross list them to the other two platforms. And that takes time. Which is why it took us so long to start cross listing to begin with, because it was okay, well, where is my time best suited? Mm-hmm. Is it better to go to these other sites that maybe don't have the same customer base? Yeah. It's hard saying. It really is.
Yeah. And then finally, we have our Whatnot sales, $38.98. We had one show that we did this month. Mm-hmm. Last month in June, it was really tough to get those sales. So we decided after that last sale that we were just going to do one show a month because there just doesn't seem to be the customer base right now. Mm-hmm. So we pulled back thinking that, okay, if we're doing one show a month, maybe some people will show up, maybe they'll bring some money. Just the opposite. It was absolutely terrible. We sold less than 10 lots. It really, just painful. When you're trying to do live sales, you're trying to talk people up. You're trying to talk people, tell people about a product or something.
And when there's just crickets, it's so hard. We have another show tonight. And it can be very frustrating when you've spent all this time and energy that you pour into the show, and then to not get the results that you're kind of hoping for is very disconcerting. Mm-hmm. It's understandable, right now it is summer. So if you're not making money, then how are you spending it? And if you have availability to go to garage sales, are you going to find your stuff on Whatnot? If you're, able to go to the flea markets, are you going to shop on Whatnot for your inventory? I get it. It's rough going.
Right. Absolutely. So what have we done with regard to our cost structure to kind of balance off these frankly terrible sales? So we go into our cost of goods. We spent $3,339. Inventory, we've pulled back hard on that. Mm-hmm. We only spent $241 last month on inventory. Our platform fees, our listing fees, $373. So you can see that's a big chunk of those total expenditures. Shipping fees, $1,200 there. Shipping supplies, $607. So this one is something that, we had a local, a person that was selling jewelry locally. They were looking to get out of their excess packaging. So we did buy probably over 1,000 boxes this past month. I think we bought 1,100 jewelry boxes.
Right.
Again, we're looking forward. We're hopeful that, maybe this fall things are going to turn over and we're going to be able to start moving some inventory. So, we were able to get a 15-20% discount on the packaging.
Right.
So we were able to take advantage of, maybe somebody else's distress because they're not getting the sales either. They're getting out of the industry. Mm-hmm. But, at the end of the day, we might be the suckers that just bought somebody else's problem.
Right.
If things continue to go in this direction,
then we're not going to need 1,100 boxes for jewelry.
Right. So, sourcing, mileage, and transportation, $64.99.
Again, we've pulled back.
Right. If we're not sourcing, then we don't need to be driving around. And then transaction fees, again, this is something that we really don't have much control over, $852. So our gross profit, $26.21. other business expenses. So that gets into your bookkeeping, that gets into your office supplies, that gets into other things. So we did have a big office purchase this month. We purchased a shredder. So we might talk about that in the future, but and then we have contract payroll that comes out of that. So we've talked before, that's your income is that $2,000. That leaves me with $317 net income after my income taxes are paid out of that. So my check is about $420. Again, that's not great. We've been planning for some down months since the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So we do have, I think, about 6 weeks of payroll, maybe 7 weeks of payroll from this point. That way to hopefully hold us through. But as you can see by these numbers, if sales continue on that trajectory, it doesn't last very long. So
yeah,
we'll pop over to the next screen here, and we've got our P&L statement. This is for the whole year. So you can see that top line number, $64,498. That is, I mean, when you talk about, okay, you're in August, you've done $65,000 in sales. That sounds like you're on trajectory for a really nice, like,
you would think.
Well, and this is where a lot of people are being deceived, or you're not getting the full story. When some of those other people, they'll pop up their 90-day total, they'll show you that top line. Oh, look, I did $65,000 and I made $65,000. No, you didn't. We're going to go through. You're going to see that $65,000 really doesn't turn into what you're anticipating. So we get off the wrong screen. All right. So
the net profits at the end of the day is just over $12,000.
Yeah.
For the 7 months.
For me personally, after I've paid you.
Yeah, because my contract work came out of that too. So.
Right. The gross profit before other business expenses. So this would be what would be on your tax return. $34,000 is really what we're looking at. $16,000 to you, $12,000 to me, and then some stuff that we can write off, the office supplies and that kind of stuff. So it really, yes, we're operating on just over 50% profitability off those sales. So from a reseller's perspective, that's a good place to be. But you can see that 1 month being down can really sidetrack your whole year.
Yeah.
So I should really be at a net profit closer to that 16,000 at this point, and we're only at 12. So finally, I want to talk about where did our sales come from, what's happening, what's changing in the marketplace, because I really think that
you have to look forward, and you have to continue to look at your practices and what's working, what's not working, and you have to do it objectively so that you're not like getting your feels hurt.
Yeah. So we're going to get out of our feels. We're going to get away from the, this is my favorite category, and we're going to actually look at the numbers in the sales. And that's how we make our decisions for our business is, I'm not going off my heart. I'm not going off what makes me happy. I'm going off what makes me money, what allows me to continue to work in this career. So what we noticed is that a lot of the strong categories that we've had over the course of the last year have really kind of almost evaporated, and that we were able to kind of save certain aspects of our month because we had kind of ventured out into some other stuff. So collectibles, we did $590. This is in that cruise line, a cruise ephemera type stuff. That's down 30% from last year.
Yeah.
We listed up a bunch of Fiesta ware. And
it's our number 2 category this month.
It's our number 2 category.
Thank goodness we finally got over ourselves and went through and listed all this stuff that we didn't want to list.
But with that said, our number 2 category did $398. So we had over 40 listings. They're all bulk quantity listings. And so that's really, yes, it's awesome to see that these are selling, that work that we put in wasn't wasted. and that capital is now back in our pockets. But that, for that being our number 2 category, that really hurts.
It does.
Jewelry and watches is number 3, specifically in earrings. So you did $372 in earring sales, which is up.
There was one pair of earrings that were those Christian Dior's that were $120.
Okay. So we had one item that took up more than a quarter of our total sales for that category. Crafts. Now, we showed you guys yesterday, we had those craft kits that we sold. The 2 craft kits totaled $359 in sales. So that brought us to our number 4 category. And then necklaces and pendants, we did $300 in. Again,
we had a couple of big ones. There was those pearls. That was $100 in all by itself. And then there was also the the Native American,
the silver.
The silver, that was $100.
Yeah.
So
you can see the consumers are really getting squeezed.
Yeah.
They're just not turning out. If you're not a regular follower of us, we have our main store. We have approximately 12,000 items in our main store. Our second store is print ads and magazines. We have approximately just under 2,000 items in that store. So between
and then we've got the Mercari and the Posh that have about, just over 400 in each of them.
Right. But with 14,000 items, individual items, unique items listed, this is kind of scary to me. And obviously, we're going to continue to focus in on those categories that are working for us. We talked about last month that we were going to kind of, back off on the print ad stuff because the print ads really just were not performing. You can see, again, they're not in our top 10. They're just nowhere. You could probably count on one hand how many print ads we're actually selling. So we're not going to go heavier on something that isn't working for us. And we're going to continue to look for like those hot items that we can add in to kind of spice up our store.
Right.
Even if they're not in our main categories.
I'm hoping, so you were talking about the fact that, you think that reselling is kind of like the canary of, the economic world. And if the consumer is super stretched, then they're not necessarily going to go buy their wants, right? Nobody's buying, really nice jewelry to stay at home and not spend money, right? So if he's not taking me out to dinner, I'm probably not going to be wearing my jewelry to go out to dinner.
If we're not getting sales, we're not going out to eat.
Right. Well, and everybody else is feeling the same way right now. And it's so uncertain. So my hope is that this underconsumption core that's going on right now out of necessity can actually benefit resellers in the very near future. I'm hoping that maybe this Christmas season, since people are strapped for cash, maybe they do say, hey, you know what, maybe I look for something, for that gift on eBay. Maybe I look for that gift at the thrift stores. Maybe I look for that gift in a way that is actually going to save me money. So with this underconsumption core thing that is.
Can you explain for people what that is? Because I actually asked you about it this morning. I hadn't heard about it.
So underconsumption core is a trend right now. And what that is it's that thrifting trend. It's that how do I save money trend. It's the repurposing that item. It's the, I have this t-shirt, but maybe I'll cut it up a little bit to give it some new life. Yes, I have a vase, but maybe I'll throw some ribbons on it to give it new life, to make it a little trendier and more now. It's taking money that you've already spent on an item in your home already and making it new again so that you can use that instead of going and buying a brand new piece outside of what you already have. So that's the underconsumption core. And I am seeing a lot of that on my feeds of, oh, hey, you can do this to breathe life into those items again. Or, oh, look at these finds that I have from the thrift store that are going to save me money in the long run.
Right, right. And I think consumers are holding on to that cash for like as long as they can, and maybe holding on to some of those products as well. So we've actually noticed when we've been in thrift stores or even at local consignment auctions that a lot of the items seem to have a lot more wear, where it seems like maybe either
they're holding on to it a lot longer,
making it work longer than what they would have. Something else that I've kind of perceived is that your big chain stores are going to be they're going to be impacted a little bit differently in this. In that, again, I have a retail background. We found that approximately 40% of our sales in grocery were utilizing SNAP benefits and WIC benefits. So that's not something that typically we're taking advantage of as resellers. We don't have a way to tap into those necessity things. So if you've got your food stamp card, it doesn't do you any good to go on eBay and to try to use that to buy postcards. Another thing that kind of comes to mind is like those Medicare cards, or your discount prescription card, or any of that type of stuff. And so your Walgreens, your CVS, your Walmart, all of these big stores, they're still going to get sales.
Yeah, sales, basically, because it's being supplemented by the Medicare cards or the SNAP benefit cards. So it's not wholly out of pocket.
Right, right. And I'm not trying to disparage people that utilize these benefits or have access to this. I'm just saying that strictly speaking,
it could certainly
it's going to affect those retailers
that don't. Better. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. They're gonna have a strategic advantage of us in business because they have the ability and access to those programs. Well, and we
see that in the discount grocery stores that we have in our area are that, the discount grocery stores that take those SNAP benefits are going to get more customers than the discount grocery stores that don't accept those benefit cards.
Right. Right. And it is quite dramatic, the difference between, businesses that do accept aid cards and those that don't.
Right. So. And with eBay not having that option, then, that's not something that we would be able to necessarily take advantage of. So, I can certainly see.
And there's no subsidies for clothing, collectibles, jewelry, anything like that. So I think that is something.
I could use some subsidy for some more jewelry. How do I get in on that? That's what I want.
So that's kind of our thoughts on what's going on, at least, how it's impacting us and our business financially. We're going to, again, like I said, we're going to double down. We're going to continue to try to source those best items that we can. We're going to keep
and not source when we can't find something that's phenomenal. That's one of the things. There's a reason we only spent $240 in sourcing this month, because we have enough common items that I don't have to get common items. If we see something that's spectacular, absolutely, I will buy a collection of awesome stuff, or I will buy a collection of commons if there's, a few really great pieces thrown in.